Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Physics 1320 Musical Acoustics. And I'm Professor Fred Olness of the Physics Department, and this course is team taught between myself and Professor George Baker. And this course is different in a number of ways. In particular, usually both of the professors will be in the classroom. Now, at the moment, I am in Munster, Germany, where I am organizing a workshop and summer school over here in Germany on high energy physics. And in Germany, their semester doesn't begin until October, so this is still their summer, but it overlaps with the first week of class. But I will be back next week, and both myself and Professor Baker will be in the classroom. Let me just start out by introducing Professor Baker to you. And again, please feel free to pause the video at any time if you want to add some comments. But this course is one of my favorites, and I've taught this for about 20 years. It's team taught, and I taught it with Professor Tom Tunks in the music school. And then when he retired, we haven't taught it in about 5 years because I wasn't able to find somebody to teach it with. And it's really essential that you have both of us in there because, I come from the physics perspective, but I'm an amateur musician. And then Professor Baker, has the music perspective, but he's also as you'll see, quite a very versatile person and knows the science side of it very well. But having both of those in the classroom makes it really wonderful. And so after Professor Tunks retired, it took a long time for me to find somebody to, again, team teach it with. But I'm really pleased to have Professor Baker with us today. So he's a adjunct with the Meadows School, but he's got an illustrious background. I'll just give you a little bit of it, and he can fill in. He actually grew up here in Dallas and got his bachelor's in music from SMU, and then did a master's music at the University of Miami, and then a DMA from Michigan. And he is a world famous organist. He just recently retired from playing organ, but now he's composing and teaching and making guest appearances. But he has won a number of international competitions, won the Chartres competition, I believe, in '74, and then studied with the Notre Dame improvisational folks. He can fill in a little bit, but it's sort of fun because, when you go and tour Notre Dame, they're putting it back together now after the fire. It'll be open by next year. But when you go to Notre Dame and tour there, and they have a little gift shop in the corner where you can get various things. And among the things they have are some of the CDs that Professor Baker recorded on. So it is a real pleasure to have someone of his caliber with us, and it's I'm so glad he joined us. But I'll let him pause and give you a little bit more of his background, and feel free to ask him about it. But as a little bit of background on myself, so I grew up in Long Island and just down the street from Manhattan and Lincoln Center and the music scene in New York. In fact, a lot of my classmates wound up there. In fact, two of my siblings are in the Broadway business. So I did music for fun. I play the trumpet, a little bit of piano. So I'm an amateur musician, but I really enjoy it. And then I do the physics. And so this course actually allows me to sort of mix the two, and that's one of the things I really enjoy. But together with Professor Baker, we put together a very interesting program for you this semester. In addition to us, we'll have a number of guest speakers. So we'll have, for example, David Brown is a piano technician down at Meadows, and we'll go down there and he'll take apart Steinway for us and show you all the innovations and how that works. We'll probably be down to Perkins Chapel, and Professor Baker will give us an organ demonstration and also room acoustics down there. That's a treat. And also, Professor Baker, go ahead and fill in the details, but he's arranged for one of his colleagues from France to fly over and he's going to be doing a concert in town, but he'll stop by the class and give us a guest lecture. So that's all on tap for you coming forward. So it should be a lot of fun. For me, this is, physics is sort of, that's my work, but music, my passion, and gives me a chance to really dig into it. So I hope you enjoy the course. Let me start with just kind of take a look at the syllabus. And again, feel free to pause the video at any time if you want to go over any details. But let's see if I can get this. Whoops. Okay. Yeah, so the course is Physics 1320, and hopefully all of you are signed up for that. We do offer a Physics 3320. That's a different version for physics majors. And basically the physics majors sit in the course, but then we have a weekly recitation with them, sort of going into the mathematics, the Fourier transforms, the differential equations, things like that. So it sort of doubles for that, but I believe everyone here is in the 1320 version. Please check with me and get that fixed the first week if you're wrong. This does not have a lab, but it does have the weekly recitations, and we dig into the heavy math. This version, it does have the lab, and the math is minimal. It's just a little bit of algebra, a little bit of trig, and we'll review that before we do it. And again, the overall format of the course is the first half of the course will give you some of the basic physics principles, and then the second half will tour the instrument families and hopefully show you how your instruments work, and that's the goal. The instructors are myself. You can reach me. I'm in 201 Founder Science. Here's my phone, email, and also Professor Baker. He's based in Meadows, but he also does have an office downstairs. I've not put any office hours for myself. When I get back from Germany, I'll set that up, but feel free to phone me or email me. I'm usually around most of the time, and you're welcome to stop by. And again, before exams, we'll have some review sessions to make sure you're up to speed on that. The course webpage, in addition to the Canvas page, I keep a long-term course webpage, which is linked from my page, and you'll see that in a little bit. And that way I can collect things from semesters to semester and they don't disappear after the semester. The course meetings are here Tuesday, Thursday, 2 o'clock to 3:20 in this room. But be careful, because on occasion we may move to a different room for the lecture. As I said, we may go down to Perkins, we may go down to Meadows, we may go over to engineering. So we'll give you heads up on that. But if you show up here and nobody's there, check your email. The labs are Monday, 2 hours, 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7. And that's downstairs in Founder in room 60. Very important, the first lab will not be held until Monday, September 9th. And so I will be back next week. I'll give you all the details on that. And one thing I do want to add, these are 2-hour labs. So we have you do a pre-lab in advance. And that way you're ready to set up and get right into the lab when it happens. And because of that, in the 2 hours, you'll do the lab, and then you'll write up the lab and then turn your lab book in. But you won't have to take the material home and then write up some lengthy lab at home. It's, everything happens in that 2 hours, but to make that happen, you do have to do the pre-lab in advance. And so I'll go over that with you. I'll go over that with you next week. And again, if there are any people in the physics majors version, instead of the lab, they won't do the lab, but they'll do the separate session with the detailed math. But again, in the 1320, we do not, it's no prerequisites in very basic math. The text is John Backus, and this is an old book, but it does have the basics. So you can get it from the bookstore, you can get it from Amazon. It shouldn't cost you more than $28. There are lots of versions around. And it does have the basics. It's a little bit dated. There are some other ones, but in particular, there was one we used to use, but when I went above $300, we switched back. And then I also have some on reserve and some I can lend you, particularly if you want to do that for the project. The grading component of the course is shown here. So the exams are 50%, and the breakdown for that is we will have 2 in-class tests. Those will be 15% each, and then the final will be 20% for that. That'll be 20% for the final. That adds up to 50%. The daily quizzes are 20%, and then the laboratory is 30%. So that's the breakdown. One note in the quizzes, the idea of the daily quiz is just to sort of, keep you up to date with the material throughout the semester. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail, but with the quizzes, we sort of tell you what to expect. And on the quizzes, there are always 3 questions, and if you get 2 out of 3, we call that 100. So hopefully this will be very easy for people to nail that. And then we don't make it a mystery. We let you know what you expect to be able to do on the exams and tests and labs, and hopefully that'll go very well for folks. Moving on, office hours, as I said, I will put those up when I get back, and also feel free to use the Learning Enhancement Center. Very important for the quizzes will be during the first 5 minutes or so of each exam. Hopefully, if people have rehearsals, let us know. We'll try to work with you if that's a little bit late. But you will need a calculator. And please, no cell phone calculators. Sorry about that. But any basic calculator that has simple functions, $15 will do. And so do please bring that for Thursday, because we'll have a very simple quiz on Thursday, but you will need a calculator for that. Again, the course webpage is here. I'll go over that in a minute. And the prerequisites, again, for this, no calculus, no advanced math. We will do a little bit of algebra and trigonometry, but we will review that before it's necessary. Again, we're only going to use the essential things that you need to understand the basics of the instruments. On the quiz, as we said, there will be a short quiz at the beginning of each class, and we will let you drop the lowest three grades if you complete a group project. So basically, you do a group project and you can either write it up or present that at the end of the semester. And that way, if you have to miss for something, a doctor's appointment or something like that, another emergency, you can miss 3 classes and still have a perfect score in your quizzes. For those that are on officially sanctioned university events, of course, that policy supersedes this. But the key thing is you have to let us know in advance. So if you're going to be out for a sports event or an academic event, let us know. We'll set up to let you take the quiz in advance. But we don't do that afterwards. Just give us advance notice on that. Homework, physics is not a spectator sport. There's homework recommended for each chapter, and I actually do not collect that. But I just point you to the problems. But in terms of the exams, what I'd recommend you focus on is go back and look over the quizzes, because that's what we focus on. We make sure the quizzes reflect that. The final exam is scheduled for Wednesday, December 18th. That's toward the end of the period, but be sure to double check the web to make sure I copied that correctly. The labs are Mondays from 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7. They don't start for 2 weeks. And you will need a calculator, a spiral lab notebook, which we will give you, and there's no laboratory manual to purchase. Everything is online. And again, for the labs, there will be a short pre-lab assignment, and you will hand that at the beginning of the lab, because that shows you've gone over the material, you're ready to go, and in 2 hours you can do the experiments, write it up in your lab book, and get it out, and not have to take it home and go write up a lab novel afterwards. I've probably missed something, so again, welcome Professor Baker to pause the video and add comments as needed. Let's see, there are some required materials here in the syllabus, and let's see, there's one. Sorry, just let me also add that one detail on regrading some quizzes and exams. And those are, I do grade those and look at those carefully. And occasionally we do make mistakes. So if you do see a mistake, basically, the details are here, but, first of all, don't write in the paper. Don't write on the paper, because then we can't figure out what's original. But do approach us and come to me within 3 days, shortly thereafter. We're not going to be firm on this, but basically, come to us promptly. If I've made a mistake, I'll fix that. We do want to clarify that. And this has, this has a required syllabus elements here. You can go through that, and also below that is the student learning outcomes and what we're aiming to in this class. And basically, we will we will evaluate that with a combination of the labs and the quizzes and the tests. So just if you want to be aware of what's going on there. Let me next go to the quiz. And so for today's quiz, we're going to do something different. Now, normally we would hand out the quiz at the beginning of class and give you about 5 minutes to fill it in and turn it back. But today's quiz, we're going to start out and we'll just fill this out together. And so fill this out as we go, and then everybody starts off with 100% of the quiz. So this is the format of what you're going to see. It's going to be 3 questions. And as it shows down here, if you get 2 out of 3, you get 100%. So, if you get 3 correct, you get a score of 3. If you get 2 correct, there's 1 for free. You get a 3. If you get 1 correct, you get 2 points. If you miss them all, you still get 1 point for showing up. But if you're absent, you get a 0. Okay, so that's the scoring plan. And so that is true question. It is not necessary to do a pre-lab before the session. That's false. Class will always be in Foundry Science and never in Perkins Chapel or the Metals Building. That's also false. We will move around for our demonstrations. Down here, true or false? In lab, there's plenty of time to carefully read the lab procedure and work out the pre-lab problems during the start of the lab period. Therefore, you don't have to begin the experiments until the last 5 minutes of the period. Okay, hopefully, pardon the sarcasm, but hopefully that's obvious. And then this is a little bit more along the lines of what we'll be looking for, but in this case, identify the 3 fundamental physical quantities, okay? And so you can say here, well, gee, you didn't tell us about this before this quiz, but remember, if you get 1 and 2 right and 3 wrong, you've got full credit. But pardon the reference to Earth, Wind, and Fire, but length, time, and mass is, of course, the length, time, and mass is the answer here, and that should be good. Now, here's a hint for quiz 2. For Thursday's class, we're going to send you home and watch about an hour-long NOVA video. And in the video, there are a few things you want to look for. I'll give you the link in just a moment. But we're going to ask you some questions on the quiz about the video. And so I recommend you pay particular attention to, let's see, what's the point of the Tchaikovsky demonstration? Okay, so they do a Tchaikovsky symphony. What's the point of that? And then what is the trick to reproduce the Stradivarius violins? Okay, and then when you change the shape of the bells, these are carillon bells, what happens? So as you watch the video, you might just want to sort of focus on that. And that's a few hints about what's to come. So, okay. And let me pause for a moment to switch gears. Okay. All right. And let's see. All right. So this is from your term sheet, and I believe you've got a copy. You've got a copy of that with you. And this, as you see, is from Professor Tunks. We borrowed this. And we're going to do just a little bit of physics to get you up to speed so you can calculate some basic things about your instruments. But the fundamental quantities that we can express all other quantities are length, time, and mass. Those 3 things will do it. So for example, if you combine length with time, you can talk about speed or velocity, which is distance over time. For example, meters per second or miles per hour. You can get area with this length times length. You can get force, pressure, and things like this. And we'll go through all of these. And as we go through the first few chapters that sort of ramp you up on the physics, these term sheets are particularly useful. And again, these are borrowed from Professor Tunks. And so these are the kind of things, as you're reading through the chapter, you should focus on. So length times mass, and we'll be using speed, velocity, and things like this. So this just gives you a guide. I do want to mention as we get further on here, particularly when we start talking about the ear. That's in chapter 5. This course he taught was in parallel with a graduate music course. So actually in this section, there are quite a few terms that we'll skip over here. But for the most of the other chapters, it's just fine. But this should be a useful guide for you. This should be a useful guide for you as you go through this. Okay, so next let me go to Canvas. And if you look on Canvas on the home page, this is all there is. There's a link to the simple syllabus. Canvas can't unfortunately put that on the home page due to limitations. But here is an overview of the syllabus, and basically that contains everything I described before. But what you might find is if you go to the faculty website, and here's my faculty website shown here. And in particular, if you scroll down a bit to physics courses, we just go to the very bottom of the page. These are the courses. And so this is this semester's course, Fall 2024, Musical Acoustics. And here's our class course. Okay. And there's lots of useful information here. Okay. Lots of useful information. And to start with, one thing I'd like to ask you is if you could fill out, this is a form that has basic information about you. And it's just a simple Google form. What's your name? An alias is what you're going to use for posting grades. So that's a way I can post them. We'll post them in Canvas, but also, I can also, it gives me flexibility to post those more flexibly. But make it not necessarily identifiable to you. So for example, for me, if I use an alias physics prof, that would not be a good alias because you could probably guess who I am. Year and major, just for my information, you took the course because it was required, because the other science course was at 8 a.m. Whatever, this is just a little bit of background information so we can find out a little bit about you. This is the very important link, okay? And this is the video for the first week of class. And make sure you know how to get to it. Again, if you go to the simple syllabus, or if you just Google me, if you Google Olness, okay, I will show up. And then if you go way to the bottom, okay, here's our course page, and there's the video. Okay, and let's see. And here it is, nice and big. There's the video. And this is a old Nova video from the 80s. You can see I took this off a VHS tape, but it's about an hour long, and it is dated, but it does have some very useful information. So, it's a good place to start a discussion. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And also here's the class Google Doc. We will use this for a variety of purposes. But to start with, what I'd like to ask you is, if you go here, and Timothy Wright has already filled this out. Here's Professor Olness. My phone number is 2500. My email is olness@smu.edu. I play the trumpet, the radio, and whatever information you would like to share with other people in your class, please do so. And so that way, if you want to get together and study with somebody for the exam, or you want to get together and somebody and get together and do a group project, you can easily find people in the course. Okay, this is optional. Only post what you want to people to know about. I'm not allowed to give out that information automatically, but this is just for people in the class to share. And later on, we'll use this for other purposes. When we sign up for projects, we'll do that, makeup labs, and then at the end of the course, when we do rotating labs, we'll use it for that. But that's all linked from there. Okay. And again, going down here, I will post the course and lab schedule. That's a blank page right now. That's a placeholder. And then there's links to the pre-labs. And I'll talk about that when I get back. But for example, here's pre-lab number 1. And we'll do that in 2 weeks, and you read through it and we're good to go. And then that just links to the syllabus. Here's a link to grade sheets. This is a way I can post it simply outside of Canvas. And then there are a variety of general resources that I've collected through the years that we'll go to in just a moment. But you can see here's some exam review material and exam formula sheet. And so, for example, before the first exam, we'll go over this material. And on the exam, you'll get a formula sheet, so you don't have to memorize the formulas, but you will need to know how to use them. And there's a whole bunch of other things. You see special material from Professor Baker. This is a presentation one of his French colleagues made a while ago. There's some videos here. Professor Tunk's presentation of the ear, a student interactive diagram, all sorts of things that we use during the semester. So that's some general things that you may find useful. Suggestions for projects. We'll have plenty of time to discuss this later on, but just here's some ideas. For fun, you might want to look at, let me find it. This is a project that Katrina and Tyler did, and they put it on a YouTube video and filmed it in front of the, using one of the Beyonce tunes. So lots of fun. You can be creative, but basically you can do it in groups of 2 or 3. And as we go through things in the course, if you find something that strikes you or applies or things like that, you can be creative. So we'll talk about that more as we go. Okay. Yeah, and as I said, special dates, we'll have David Brown in. We'll figure out the dates, same for Perkins Chapel. And I think the rest is pretty much the same as before. So let me pause things here for just a moment. So just to finish up, I believe that's all I have for today. And then Professor Baker has a presentation for you. But so at the end of the class, if you would fill out the quizzes and do hand those in. And I apologize. Let me also acknowledge Brandon Stevenson is helping out this week while I'm out of town. Brandon, actually, he will not be the TA for the course. We'll have a separate TA, but Brandon is one of our senior graduate students that volunteered to help out this week. But if you would, at the end, just turn your quiz back into Brandon. Everybody will get 100. We'll start off the semester on a high note. And then on Thursday, though, we will have a real quiz at the beginning of class, and I'll be asking a few things that I gave you hints on about what happened in the video. So do make sure you watch the video and be prepared for that at the beginning of class on Thursday. And that's all I have for now. And again, welcome to this course. Again, this is one of the courses I enjoy the most, and it's good to have you in here. And again, it's a real pleasure to have Professor Baker in here. And we've got the fun semester planned. So thank you much, and we'll look forward to seeing you through the semester. Take care.